I guess it's kind of funny what they choose to put on the news and what they choose to overlook and ignore. Mm-hmm. Whereas maybe let's spend countless hours, man hours in time doing extensive research on a submarine that ultimately imploded in search of the Titanic by some maybe brave or ridiculously stupid individuals
With a lot of money.
with a lot of money and a lot of ability to be able to do that, to venture into the depths in an area which they were told not to go. Mm-hmm. But then you got to wonder, why were they told not to go? What secrets do they not want uncovered by independent researchers? For instance, you, and the content that you create and the information that you share probably isn't really welcome by the parties attached and associated with this information. For instance, the East Palestine Railroad situation.
Norfolk Southern, especially.
Norfolk Southern. But additionally, more importantly, what you tend to gravitate towards too on a regular basis, which is the food that we eat and consume on a regular basis, which I'm glad that you do it, because I don't know any better. So I trust in you.
Okay.
But essentially you say, well, this is what we're eating today. This is what I got. This is where I got it from. Whole Foods, Publix, whatever. I don't know. I don't think you shop at Walmart for food. And everything's organic is what you say. You tell me everything is organic.
The most I can get organic, even our black pepper and sea salt are organic. Well, maybe not sea salt, but even our black pepper is organic.
For good reason, because these are things that they don't want everyone to know about, which is why we don't hear about it on the news. So let's just think about it like this. If we go down and think about instances in the past of events that gain a lot of notoriety. Food shortages. Okay. That's going to be really important here in just a minute. Food shortages, fuel prices and shortages. Interestingly enough, Hunter Biden, he kind of skates in and out from time to time.
True.
He's not 100% immune, but then it kind of gets swept under the rug. Pelosi at one point and her husband.
Well, back when Trump was in office, his son was the main one they were talking about. Now that Biden's in office, it's his son they're talking about. It's always a family member.
Then, we go over to Russia and Ukraine and everything that's going over there, which apparently Hunter Biden is tied into that in some way, shape, or form with aiding Putin in this conflict. We'll leave it at that.
While we aid them with all of our money in Ukraine.
Which, the beginning of the pandemic, there were certain topics that you were literally not able to discuss. Only mainstream media had the ability on YouTube to say certain things about certain words, about certain labs and certain people. That was it.
Yep.
But let's get back to food shortages.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about briefly the 10,000 cows that died randomly, or the bird flu, the avian bird flu.
Don't forget the cow tuberculosis.
The egg shortage, which was ultimately companies just not ordering eggs anymore.
Based off of what I've seen.
The fertilizer issue and the grain problem, and avocados were a problem at some point, I think. Wine, maybe. Aluminum cans, so cats weren't going to be able to eat, but dogs could.
And so could humans with canned goods, and you could still drink your beer, and you could still do all these other things, but for cats.
Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light, I think they would wish they had a damn can shortage and they could have avoided this whole problem that they got themselves into, which even that started taking root, and not to mention all the civil unrest going on in the streets as a distraction for some people at that time to go visit some damn Dodge dealerships and steal Hellcat engines out of the damn car in the parking lot.
I didn't know that was an option.
It's not.
Does it Hellcat engine?
It's not, unless you have an inside man,
Gotcha.
or woman.
Or
Yes,
whatever
that
you want
too.
to call yourself. Did you see, this is totally off topic, do you mind? Wayne Brady came out
I do mind, but you've already started, so.
Wayne Brady came out as asexual and
Wayne Brady.
bisexual. I don't know if it's real or if he just wanted to be back in the forefront of things.
Well, he was always somewhat of a strange dude.
Funny as hell, though.
But maybe this is not what it seems. Much like the apology from Neo or Neo's publicist, which he then backtracked and said, no, I do not offer that apology, and I do not think that. I'll share that with you guys in a moment. Let's stay on track here. Stay on focus.
My bad.
I got a little clip. I'll insert the clip because I recorded it the other day when I saw it, and I was like, well said.
It says here that a woman who detransitioned calls on Congress to ban gender confirmation healthcare for minors. While I'm coming across a news story here from Rolling Stone where Neo walks back apology, doubles down on controversial gender identity comments, and the singer has revoked his initial apology while also issuing something of a non-apology. Quote, I will never be okay with allowing a child to make a decision that detrimental to their life. And this, after I came across this headline here that I can't seem to find anymore. I don't know where it went. But it says, oh, here it is. You can't see community posts in a landscape format on your smartphone. But Fox News, this reads, so sick of cancel culture, R&B singer Neo reversed his publicist's apology after he spoke out against gender transition treatments for children. Quote, Neo says, if I get canceled for this, then you know what? Maybe this is a world where they don't need a Neo no more.
Well said. On top of righting a wrong and setting the story straight based on a response that was made on his behalf that he didn't make.
Oh, I need to hear about this because even I don't know that one.
But either way, I want to talk about these food shortages.
Okay.
Because think about it. All these things that we discussed essentially just disappeared. They just stopped. Like, everything's fine. The border crisis and situation, and now we got the buses transporting migrants. At one point, we had get your bug out bag ready for New York, and the air quality. Don't forget to put the Nintendo and the Xbox in the bug out bag in case you got internet connectivity. And then we had the air quality problem from the wildfires, which now we have wildfires in Hawaii, but they're not saying anything about air quality.
I have a whole video later about some stuff.
They're not saying anything about air quality, and it is purely a distraction. Unfortunately, to say that, you already know that, so we're speaking the same language here. But unfortunately, it gets worse, because when you really start to understand and figure out what they're doing or have done or will more than likely continue to do in the future, it kind of sucks. So the food shortages.
I have a comment. Somebody left a comment on one of my videos today that said, we're going to run out of food soon. None of this other stuff matters. And I replied back, no, we aren't. Because we're not going to run out of food.
They're going to ensure that we do not.
They're going to ensure that we do not run out of food. We may run out of real food, naturally grown food, non-modified food, non-lab grown food, but we're not going to run out of food. And that's the thing.
So you have to oftentimes just say, why is YouTube doing something? And I'm like, well, they made a change and they introduced this change and there's a problem and they're going to try to fix it later. Well, that was a test. We have been tested, continuously are tested. And the test started at the end of 2019 and started rolling into 2020 and through 2021. And here we are today. They are still testing us. And what did they conclude from these tests? They found out, the data proved that, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I would assume that the data proved that 30 to 40% went along with whatever they were told to do. And the other 60 to 70% did not.
I would agree with that.
If anybody knows the actual numbers, let me know. That would be an interesting one to find out.
I agree.
But they ran a test and they determined through this test that we can't get away with whatever we want. And now the people are onto us. So we have to be a little bit more strategic on how we are going to implement the next phase of the plan. Therefore, we are now getting back into food shortages. But you got to think, we're never going to run out of food, which is a good thing, because they're going to ensure that we never run out of food from the standpoint of this country, United States of America, other countries similar to our level of sophistication and technology and income and GDP and things like that. Whereas some of these third world countries actually probably aren't going to run out of food either, but their food is probably going to be better than ours. Mm-hmm. But here's the deal. When someone tells you that you're essentially going to run out of something, that it immediately creates an urgency. It's the supply and demand, okay?
It creates panic.
And we are seeing this also from reports from people telling me on my car channel that even the dealerships are doing this to push sales. They'll hide the vehicles so that you can't see them, to create the idea of a shortage of supply and scarcity to increase demand and ultimately drive up the prices that they're going to sell the vehicles for. Mm-hmm. It works with food, but not everybody knows what we know. And I'm talking about us, not just you and I. Not everybody knows what we know. So it's going to be very important that we share this message with as many people as possible so that they understand, they are aware of what's happening. So when you introduce the idea of food shortages and you spread it through the media and you get everybody on board to continuously pump this and let it be known that it will be pumped again, mm-hmm. people will then take anything that they can get at that point, which will be what the Associated Press shares here with us. Never mind the small fox or dog. It's a dog, it's not a fox. At the top there. The U.S. approves chicken made from cultivated cells, the nation's first lab-grown meat. Mm-hmm. So we won't run out of food.
No, we will not.
They're going to tell you that there's a shortage, but we know that we're not going to run out of food. But for those who are afraid and uninformed and uneducated, they will, potentially those who are still asleep and haven't woken up just yet, they're going to take anything they can get. And more than likely, they're not going to do their research. They're not going to do their homework. They're not going to read the labels. They're not going to read the ingredients. And they're going to grab this chicken off the shelves or out of the refrigerated section. And they're going to go on about their day. And they're not going to realize that they're eating. For the first time, U.S. regulators on Wednesday approved the sale of chicken made from animal cells, allowing 2 California companies to offer lab-grown meat to the nation's restaurant tables and eventually supermarket shelves. So I think the beauty of it here is that the restaurants are safe because a lot of folks just don't have the money to go out and plop down to spend at these restaurants and pay these insanely high gratuities that start at like 18 or 20% on top of the added fees, mm-hmm. all these new fees and taxes.
You have to think anywhere serving that chicken is going to be more expensive than a Chick-fil-A drive-thru.
So the agriculture department, this is actually going to make McDonald's chicken look better.
That's very hard to do.
Chicken nuggets. It's going to make McDonald's chicken nuggets look better. So the agriculture department gave the green light to Upside Foods and Good Meat, firms that had been racing to be the first in the U.S. to sell meat that doesn't come from the slaughtered animals. What's now being referred to as cell cultivated or cultured meat as it emerges from the laboratory and arrives on dinner plates. Now, I'd be willing to bet that there are some choice, select individuals some way attached and associated with this Upside Foods and Good Meat company in California. Mm-hmm. And if not, others that are likely to emerge here soon or try to continue to fly under the radar to be exposed at a future date. Stay tuned. Remember, it's 100% free to subscribe to the channel. So click that button right there. Or maybe it's right here. Not really sure. The move launches a new era of meat production aimed at eliminating harm to animals and drastically reducing the environmental impacts of grazing, growing feed for animals, and animal waste. But I gotta ask this question from a selfish point of view. Why are we so worried about the harm to the animals, but we're not worried about the harm to the people?
Very good question.
Because you can't sit here and tell me that this lab-grown, raised, created, manufactured, scientifically 3D printed chicken isn't going to be 100% like perfect for people.
Well, there's more money in harming people than there is in harming animals.
Ooh, but again, these are tests. They run the test and they see what the results are. But you're skipping ahead, my friend.
Okay,
as always.
My bad.
And I'm going to save this article because we are running short on time, and I don't want to read it word for word. This is somebody else's work. But if you guys want to go over it more, then let me know. We can incorporate it into other videos. But I don't know what in the world that is. I lost my slide there. But I do have some interesting news clips here that it says Bill Gates says fake meat products will eventually be very good. What does that mean?
I don't even know.
Does that mean it'll be very good for the people, or it'll be very good, like tasty?
Or very good for the people putting money behind it, their return on investment.
I don't know why it doesn't show the picture there. This one says Bill Gates, rich nations should shift. Somebody's calling me. Don't call me. Bill Gates says it might be somebody like, we're watching you.
We're listening to you.
Every time I try to talk like this, to give you guys this information, these random spam risk phone calls come through. But it says that according to MIT, Bill Gates, rich nations should shift entirely to synthetic beef.
So what you're saying is
That's it. United States, we're a rich nation. That's what I meant to call it. A rich, we're all rich, right?
So poor nations get to keep eating real food, but rich nations, the ones who are supposed to be the best, if you will, are now stuck with eating fake crap? Tell me how that makes sense.
The poorer nations are those who don't have all the luxuries that we have, but really they go out and catch their food in the wild.
I was about to say, this is why a lot of people are moving to Mexico and other places like that, and Brazil and other places.
Yeah, but wait, there's more.
ShamWow.
Bill Gates is also the largest landowner. The Microsoft co-founder is considered the largest private owner of farmland in the country, with some 269,000 acres across dozens of states, which I wonder why he would have so much farmland when he's telling people that they need to push towards synthetic beef.
Oh, well, the easiest way to ensure that there is no real beef is to buy up the land where the cows could live and just don't use it for that. I mean, right? Isn't that how that works?
Now, again, we have to run. We're short on time. I also have to be very selective with the choice of words that I use. So at this time, I would ask that you just look at the screen, because I'm going to put some things on the screen here to kind of like convey the message here. But ultimately, Bill Gates has his stance and position on certain things. And unlike Elon Musk, I'm not a person, or I'm not a Mars person. Maybe he's from Venus.
I was about to say, I'm not a person. That sounds like that lady on the airplane. That's not a real man.
Maybe he's from Venus. But either way, I would rather spend money on something else. Mm-hmm. Bill Gates would rather pay for
that's something else
these than travel to Mars. Maybe he's like, I've already been to Mars.
Already been there.
Overrated. Mm-hmm. One star would not go back. So here's the deal. It comes down to manipulation and control, misdirection and distractions, right? Mm-hmm. But also setting up the tee for the next at bat, right? They've already figured out how people's brains work, which clusters of the country they need to be careful of, how to manipulate and use TikTok to their advantage, which again, TikTok was supposed to be banned in the United States, and all of a sudden you don't hear about it anymore.
Yeah.
You don't hear about it anymore. Why? Because it's not going to be banned in the United States, and it's going to be a useful tool in their initiative to get what they want done next, which ties into the food shortages. So they've already created the panic and the scare and the worry and the fear and the anxiety for a majority of the people, those 30 to 40% that just kind of go along with the flow, that we are going to run out of food. Stage one. But don't worry, because we're going to create synthetic food in the labs, cultured meat that we're going to pump out to the restaurants and then start permeating into grocery stores. And you'll probably never know. There'll probably never be any news announcements that it's actually happened. That was phase 2.
There will be from me.
But phase 3 is that, you know what? On top of
Old Smoky covered in cheese.
On top of these two companies, which they were called Upside Foods and Good Meat, you know what? We got a third, hypothetically speaking. Maybe they're already working on this. Or maybe they're already associated with this in some way, shape, or form. But you know what? Pfizer is going to start making chicken and synthetic beef now too. And since it's a brand new venture, there's really no set rules or regulations on what can and cannot be put in this synthetic cultured meat and chicken and beef and possibly fish, for which we could potentially see a higher rate of acceptance of a particular substance that Bill Gates would prefer to invest his money in rather than going to Mars, delivered to the people without them actually knowing. But they would actually beg for it because they'll take any meat that they can get to eat because they've already been told that there will be food shortages.
2 comments. 1, unknown acceptance, which is sketchy all on its own. But also the FDA regulates livestock. It doesn't regulate lab grown the same way.
And on that bombshell, we appreciate you guys watching. Please, as always, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Feel free to leave any comment you want down below. Check us out on our other channels. Memberships are available if you want to support the channel. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.